Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Elseworlds Exchange. I'm Sal.
And I'm Joel, and I loved that opening.
Oh
I
my
could
God.
I could easily have kept going with that, but then we might have had to have paid for the song.
Exactly. Too, and it's only a second. And it was our cover of the song, so I think we covered. But let me tell you something, guys. This is a big special episode for both of us. This is the Batman the Animated Series 25th anniversary celebratory. These are our favorite episodes list.
Yep.
We're going to be going down our favorite episodes. And for my list, it's no particular order. Joel, you actually do have like a top 10. So,
Well, it's yes and no. I know what my number one episode is, and I think my number one episode, I've mentioned it elsewhere, and I think it will surprise people.
I'm looking forward to finding out what it is. So, let's talk a little bit about the Batman animated series before we jump into our list. This is a show that came kind of out like a dark horse for many people.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of people, particularly in our audience, that grew up with it always having existed and using it as a litmus test for things that are coming out. Like, no, the Batman was pretty cool. It wasn't as good as Batman the Animated Series, but I still like it. Beware the Batman was obviously garbage, but I still enjoy Justice League Action, that kind of thing. But in a world where there was... The only animated Batman you had was the Super Friends cartoon, and then suddenly this show comes out of nowhere, and it just blows the doors off of everything.
It wasn't a high hurdle to jump, but goddamn did they jump it, and in many ways set a gold standard for like cinematic storytelling and animation for years to come.
It completely, like I said, it blows the doors off of everything that came before it. It not only pays homage to the mythology of Batman and his rich, long, 50 to 60 plus year history.
It distills so many versions.
Exactly. It does a lot of good things that the best animated or book or movie version of your favorite properties does, which is takes the good and the epic and the sweeping long history and then boils it down to its basic elements and gives you something of a pure product.
Also not afraid to invent their own things as well that would eventually end up becoming canon. Obviously, Harley Quinn is probably the biggest example of like, wow, they invented this thing and now I can't imagine the DC universe without it.
Exactly. By the way, Mr. Giggle says, is Coke Zero Sugar Hydro Coke Zero? I do not think so, because I'm kind of getting swayed myself. I'm drinking it right now. And let me tell you, I'm kind of digging it. And I'll tell you this, the gang at ComicPOP likes it more than Coke Zero, so I'm actually running out of it faster than ever before.
I just found it in my local store today, which is funny because when we were walking around Toronto, I'm like, hey, Sal, I don't think Canada changes over as quick as America does. If you wanted to fill up on Coke Zero, now would be the time. Literally, when I got back home and went to the Giant Tiger, which you love and find so hilarious, they had Coke Zero Sugar up there. I'm like, holy shit, I go away for a weekend and look what happens.
But getting back on track, the animated series, yes, it isn't afraid to make new things. It isn't, and by the way, it didn't make new things and go, look at all the new things we've made. It was literally just like, well, we're making something, and they put their nose to the grindstone and just tried to make as best a show as possible. And I find that over the many years of enjoying and absorbing pop culture, that's where we get the best stuff.
Oh yeah,
the stuff that comes from adversity, is forced to adapt, and also is not trying to make a name for themselves, but instead make a pure product. You'll find the same thing comes from everywhere. Like, there's a lot of different examples of that kind of thing. But like, if you ever get that great big Batman the Animated Series book that has a whole bunch of
up on the wall, actually.
I got mine. It's actually back at the house. But they talk, there's this great Bruce Timm drawing, I think, where it is depicting all the things that standards and practices wouldn't let them include.
Oh, yeah.
Which, of course, as the show got more clout and as the show started to evolve and grow and become the behemoth it was, they started to push the envelope. And you could tell when they were... If you are familiar with that picture, then you are definitely aware when they are like, ooh, we get to break some glass, or ooh, we get to strangle somebody, or ooh, we get to show some kind of drug use.
We get to imply death, yeah.
And I remember, I think that was the first animated children's cartoon that had a character invoke the Lord's name.
That's true.
I remember Bullock says it when Gordon gets shot.
That's right, he does.
Yeah, in an episode on my list, so we'll get into it.
Mm.
But let's get into our list. This is our favorite episodes of Batman animated series. We know you've got a few of your own.
Of course.
Share. So write write yours down and let us know what yours are, and compare and contrast. See if we got some.
Absolutely.
See if we got some dupes.
Oh, I'm sure there'll be a ton of overlap for everyone here. And also, I want to state, we picked 10, but then we also picked like 5 or 6 honorable mentions that we'll probably discuss at the end. So if your favorite episode doesn't make our cut, don't feel bad, because it'll probably be an honorable mention somewhere.
There are also like multiple seasons of this show that are and the show was great. So like this might be the best depiction of Man-Bat, for example.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately, I liked more episodes better than that one. I love that episode. It's not on my top 10. Doesn't mean I don't appreciate it. You're going to have a lot of that happen.
And I mean, the fact that Man-Bat only got like 2 episodes in the entire thing, yet we're still talking about the Man-Bat episode, speaks volumes.
Perhaps he's like one of the best action figures in your collection.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, he's fantastic. So,
Man-Bat, hell yeah.
Man-Bat, hell yeah. Way better than Kite Man.
Just saying.
Yeah, just saying. Full issues of an epic event dedicated to Kite Man. Nowhere near as good as at least one episode of the Batman animated series featuring Man-Bat. So Joel, kick it off. What's on your top 10?
So I'm going to blow everyone's mind here with this one, but I think this is a perfect episode that illustrates one of the most beautiful things about Batman the Animated Series is it was so well layered and so well constructed. You could have whole episodes without Batman, and that would be fine. And the episode I picked to kick us off is Showdown, the Wild West flashback episode starring Jonah Hex.
Oh my god, okay. That is actually my old college roommate's favorite episode as well, because he's a Western fan, and he loves his Jonah Hex. So I'm not surprised to hear it, but I am a little surprised to hear it. Why is it one of your favorites? Why does it warrant bumping certain episodes of other shows, or other episodes off?
Well, I mean, obviously Jonah Hex faithful in due in no small part to this episode. It also helps build the history of the DC animated universe in a fun way, because the villain of that episode is Ra's al Ghul, who was trying to take over the world even back then. We meet his son, because up until that point we had only seen Talia. Of course he's fathered a bunch of kids, which leads to a great twist ending. And also, that's Malcolm frickin' McDowell as his kid.
That's right. Such a great voice acting group, by the way. I think that's David Warner as the voice of Ra's al Ghul, and damn is he amazing. But yeah, Malcolm McDowell, tragically underused in the animated series, but I'm glad he was at least put in that one.
Another thing, too, the basic plot of this story is that, Ra's al Ghul has built, like, an evil steam machine. He's going to, like, try and kill Lincoln and take over America and everything.
Yeah.
That's very close to the plot of Wild Wild West, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Only
this episode predates Wild Wild West.
Manages to distill all the stuff that you might want to see in Wild Wild West into 22 minutes, while also still managing to retain its dignity and self-respect.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And having characters that are more subtle, nuanced, and actually like behaving like adults. By the way, it's Over 9,000 Production says, I love the Batman, but what'd you think of Batman of BTAB? What is that? Batman, the Brave and the Bold?
I think so, yeah.
I kind of dug it. I avoided it for the longest time, but
Me too.
I did dig it, and I appreciated like all the deep cuts they were making. I thought it was a really like underappreciated show. I appreciated what they were doing and the fact they weren't trying to like usurp or change anything.
Yeah, it definitely had its high points. I'm a big fan of Chillin' the Night, actually. I thought that was a pretty great one.
Oh, that is a good one.
Which a strangely more serious episode for a show that's usually filled with like comedy moments where it's like, hey, we can do drama too.
Yeah, it seemed like it was kind of built towards kids, but it also tried to do it manages to do everything.
It did.
For me, I'm gonna lump these. I have a couple of like two-parters that I'm just gonna lump into one.
That's fine. We can do that. We have to because they tell one story.
Which is Feet of Clay, part 1 and 2, which introduces Clayface and also ruins the secret identity for Clayface for everyone, forever, because when I was first introduced to Clayface, it was through the cartoon. So I obviously assumed his name was Matt Hagen.
Me too, only he's like the fourth.
Yeah, so every time I read a Clayface comic and they talk about Basil, I'm like, what the Basil? Like, pass. No, it's Matt. It's Matt Hagen.
Basil Karlo, a reference to Boris Karloff. And even in a way, Matt Hagen in the cartoon was a distillation of all the Clayfaces who came before. He had Basil's actor background, but he also had the tragicness of Matt Hagen and all this other stuff.
Yeah, but a great, once again, a great distillation of the Clayface character. But holy shit. First of all, you got Roland Daggett, one of the many regular people that was also a villain and untouchable. The end of that episode when, not the end of the episode, but the episode where Roland Daggett gets oh no, I'm sorry, I'm thinking of another episode. But in any case, Roland Daggett's an amazing antagonist, played perfectly by Ed Asner.
Oh, yeah.
But you also have Ron Perlman playing Clayface and him doing an amazing job. But the unsung, amazing, spectacular web of part of the episode, or rather of that two-parter, is just the animation.
Oh God, yes.
For part two.
All hand drawn, and yet all the morphing and changing.
If you never see any animation again, watch part 2 of Feet of Clay, and the animation is just I had never seen anything like that before. As a kid growing up, I remember being very aware of the distinctive qualities of like how spectacular and freaking awesome the intro to a cartoon show was, because it was all done in-house and it was all with like cinematic quality and with shading and weight and it just looking epic. Like that Thundercats opening, it looks so great.
Oh,
and
it's
then you
stellar.
Watch the show and you're like, what the crap?
You tricked me.
No, the Feet of Clay is like a 22-minute intro to a show where they just dumped money into it, and I don't know.
Oh, they killed themselves on that one.
They did. They bankrupted themselves on that show, but my God, you've never seen anything like it before.
Will stand the test of time.
Yep. I think that team also did another episode that's obviously on this list. So.
That episode too, Feet of Clay, is also a wonderfully beautiful, tragic story, and I think that's what Batman did better than just about any other show on TV at that time. It's like, hey kids, it's a feel-bad story.
Yeah, like it forces you to realize like villainy doesn't necessarily come from a place of evil.
Yeah.
And that's kind of amazing how often that is the theme of a Batman animated series episode, and of course the formation of any good villain. So,
they weren't always happy endings, and I think there's something really wonderful about that in doing a show where it's like, hey, they're not always going to be happy endings.
Yeah. Yeah. Ron Perlman, man, the dude could have played Matt Hagen back then, today, anytime. In real life and in voice acting.
Dude's a national treasure.
Yep.
Would love to meet him one day.
Yeah, he never goes to the cons we go to.
No.
So yeah, there you go. Next one.
Here's another one that might surprise people. Joker fish or laughing fish.
The laughing fish is on my list as well. I love that one. So tell us more about why you love it so much.
It's a really solid episode. It is a perfectly quintessential Joker episode in my mind, because he starts off with this incredibly ridiculous, just no sane, healthy mind would think of this plan to not even take over the city or to not even to do anything. Like, it's almost a get rich quick scheme, but he knew it was never going to work. It's just wonderful to see the gears turning or not turning, where it's like, I will put a bunch of Joker toxin in the water, turn a bunch of fish to look like me, and then I will, make the life of this, poor little copyright clerk hell unless he signs over the intellectual property to me. And I'll kill everyone who gets in my way also.
Oh yeah, of course. It's also a beautiful adaptation or spiritual homage to some iconic moments in Batman history. Laughing fish, Batman versus the shark. And he manages to do it pretty much in the same way. I remember reading that comic and being like, this is so visceral, and then seeing it on the screen and not only being like, I think I remember this, and then being like, did these TV people read the comic?
Why, I think they did.
That's unfucking precedented. So,
at that time it was.
Also, they killed the Joker in that episode.
Seemingly.
So perfect. What's it
that
called?
fight they have on top of the aquarium there is
Yes.
probably one, if not my favorite fight scenes from that show. And it's so simple, yet it works because they built up the characters so much and their resentment. And it has one of my favorite like Hamill voice acting turns where like for the whole episode he's been like, you know, twee funny Joker, ho ho ho, this would be a naughty caprice. Look at my plan for fish. And then when they're fighting on the rooftop and all of that just falls away. And he becomes like this horrible, cruel madman there. What's the line he says I love so much? Where it's like, you know, you've seen my side splitters. Here's a skull splitter for you.
Just hits him with a wrench, by the way. No elaborate Joker weapon, just a wrench. In fact, that was the origin of me understanding the colloquialism, meanwhile, back at the ranch.
Yeah.
It was him being like, meanwhile, back at the ranch.
Wrench.
I'm like, what? Also, really genuine humor in that episode.
Oh, yeah.
When he, God, I think recently I encountered a scenario that was very similar to the, like, you can be my very own little mermaid. And then just dumping the top half of a fish costume on Harley and her going, you're really sick, you know that, boss? So funny and so excellent.
Real good. Yeah. Harley's in that episode, too.
Yeah, Harley's in that episode, and I think they don't quite know who she is yet.
They don't.
It's not her debut, but it's an episode where it's like, let's put in that henchwoman that Deanie really likes so much.
She was fun.
Let's put her in there. And also, oh, what a great ending where Joker seemingly gets eaten by the shark that he captured and tried to, or not captured, but co-opted into battling Batman. But also at the end, Harley kisses the Joker card, throws it into the ocean. It floats there for a second, and then the shark eats the card.
Love
as if
it.
to say, like, no. Like, usually the monster movie moment is like the Joker's hand like reaches out and grabs the card, or would like, you know, burst from the rubble. But instead, the shark eats the card too, as if to say, like, no, Joker's not coming back. He of course does
that.
every time, but so great. As a kid, I'm like, did they kill the Joker?
He suffered so many deaths that should have been the last one. Like, there's a great one that we'll talk about later where he falls into a smokestack.
I think when he falls in the smokestack, he even says, not again.
Yeah, not again. This keeps happening.
Yeah, Laughing Fish. Excellent one. Good call.
That's a great episode. Great title card, too.
Agreed. For me, another one of my top favorite, top 10 episodes is an episode called Perchance to Dream. Which,
that's an excellent one.
Bruce
That
Wayne,
one just missed my cut.
I had to include it. It's a Mad Hatter episode, which is, of course, awesome because Mad Hatter is played by Roddy freaking McDowell.
Amazing.
Who you never would have thought unless you're a Planet of the Apes fan. You're like, oh, is he Cornelius? That's freaking awesome. That episode is so great. Also another adaptation of a comic book, but it's so great. Bruce Wayne wakes up in his utopia, in his world where he doesn't have to be Batman anymore. And there even is a Batman already operating, and he knows that it's not right and that there's something wrong. And
his parents are alive. He's married to Selena.
He's getting married to Selena. It's just a perfect exploration of the Bruce Wayne character, his pathos, while also delivering it in a way where it's not like scarring and horrifying and weird for kids, but so great. And also really explore some fun like faux science where he's like, I couldn't read because you can't read in a dream. Of course, that's not true.
Yeah,
but,
we now know that's bullshit, but back at the time,
but it was a fun moment where Batman is a detective and figures it out.
Batman basically got put in the Matrix for that episode, didn't he?
Yeah, because he is hooked up to machines and stuff. It's not like he took like a gas and he had like a vision, which is in another episode. But goddamn, so great. That's such a great episode. I love Roddy McDowell's ending where he just says like, I was willing to put you in your own private wonderland and get you just so you'd stay out of my hair. It's some amazing.
Get off
thing.
my case.
Yeah, I gave you the perfect life so you'd stay out of mine or something like that.
They built on that idea for an episode of Batman Beyond with Spellbinder. He did something very similar, but he turned it to like a drug where it's like, hey, I'll give you your perfect world for like the price of a dime bag for an hour.
I think Spellbinder tries to convince Bruce Wayne he's crazy.
That's another. No, that was the sound guy.
Oh yeah, Shockwave or something.
The guy's cool design, but not an interesting villain.
By the way, solid episode from Batman Beyond. Just for the ending alone, where he's like, how did you know you weren't going crazy? And he says, because my mind called me Bruce.
I don't call me that in my mind.
I'm like, oh, yes.
But mark that down on the docket. If this one's popular, we'll do one for Batman Beyond and Justice League, because there's one we could totally do.
Batman Beyond, it's literally, there's like 4 episodes that I like. So
I think there's more than that, but I like Batman Beyond more than most.
Yeah. People dug it, so I don't begrudge them. But yeah, freaking Perchance to Dream was one of my top favorites.
That's an excellent one for sure.
What do you got?
Okay, what do I got? Well, now here's one I know we're going to share on all of them, so let's talk about it right out of the way. Almost Got Im.
Oh, Almost Got Im. Yes, of course, it's on my list. I think that's the first one where we introduce the villains are all kind of like in the same universe / all like they all know each other.
It's a villain team-up episode, but with a twist, because they don't actually do anything together except for get caught.
Right, and also perfectly illustrates why the Joker's #1.
Yes.
And also features Poison Ivy in her black Halloween costume, which you never see. So great. It's anyway, go ahead. Yeah.
Another visual tour de force. It's an anthology episode is what it is. And this was one of the first episodes that opened me up to the idea that you can do 22 minutes in like 4 or 5 short stories.
Yes. Man, you know what's great about that episode is how brilliant they are in taking a very, very basic, simple premise and then tricking you. I know that, like, I fell for the Croc reveal because they made it funny.
They sure did. Because I hit him with a rock. It was a big rock.
It was a big rock. I'm like, I was so entertained and delighted by that joke that when it was revealed that he's actually Batman, I'm like, oh, because it was so in keeping with their version of Croc. I was so in.
So many great visual gags, too. The Joker is cheating at cards. Two-Face is drinking half and half. Mm-hmm. He's got a handful of 2s.
Yep. I also love how horrified and disgusted the other villains are with Joker's plan.
Yes.
They're like, what? You're going to turn her into cat food? That's over the line, Joker. The other moment, of course, is also great, is that, like, they almost got him. That's the theme of the running, thematic element is them all saying almost got him. And then, of course, Catwoman trying to get him to kiss her, and him not doing it, and her saying almost got him.
That was her almost. But visually, too, this one was a tour de force. We talked about, like, the burning pumpkin patch scene with Poison Ivy, the crazy cassowary bird that tries to kill Batman. The bit that always gets me is the bad guy bar they're actually hanging out in. It's very like Fleischer Superman, very minimalist. You've got like lamps just, hanging from the darkness, and then, with the Batman reveal, it swings, illuminates Croc for a second, then boom, when it swings back, he's Batman.
Oh, it does this brilliant thing where it casts a shadow over Croc, and as it casts the shadow, he is Batman over Croc. Oh, such brilliant animation in that episode.
Pretty.
Yeah, pretty. And, of course, brilliantly acted and fun. And doesn't wind up being, like, doesn't feel trite. No. The Trial is a good episode, not on my top list, and felt like a rehash of Almost Got It.
Trial is also in my honorable mentions. Did you know before they did Mask of the Phantasm, Trial was actually supposed to be the movie?
It was, and I would have been disappointed, I think. The Trial episode, I think, is a great premise. It's not on my list at all.
It's like, you were so close to doing a serious house on a serious earth, you almost had it.
It's real close. And then, of course, like, if you're a big Spider-Man fan, by the way, they rip it the fuck off. During the Clone Saga, and Carnage is the prosecutor or something. It's
nice.
Horrible. Anyway, so yeah. So you ditched, or you jumped on Almost Got Him. I'm gonna go with another episode called I Am the Night.
Oh.
This one...
A very introspective episode, which they would often do.
Yes. This one is, what's it called? Batman is dealing with crime, the Jazz Man. Gordon gets shot, and Batman gets real emo about it.
He sure does.
God, so good. I saw it recently. I didn't update to Windows, and so now, like, everything's telling me, like, he's giving me updates, which is annoying as hell.
Hey, update, dude.
Thanks, Windows. But yeah, no, so Jimmy the Jazz Man is willing to, is interested in, like, getting revenge on Gordon and like risks life and limb. It's a great episode that shows like obsession and dedication.
It's an Ahab and the White Whale moment is what it is.
Jazzman literally risks, like he jeopardizes and ultimately sacrifices his own freedom just so he could try and kill Gordon.
Because that's how important it was to him, and that's reflected in Batman and the lengths he'll go.
Exactly. And Batman, that moment where Batman fails, Gordon gets shot, Bullock says, "Oh my God," which is another like, what? They can say God in this show? But also Batman going back to the Batcave and then just wrecking everything.
That was a great moment.
So disappointed. And like, yeah, I guess in this world, this is kind of the first time Batman's failed.
Yeah, I remember, too, as like a young kid being like, this was the first time Batman ever gets down on himself. I'm like, is it even worth it, Alfred? Is it even worth what I do?
Yes. Maybe it's time for Batman to go back into the night where he came from before someone else gets hurt. So great. Everyone's trying to convince him to be Batman. Also another episode that like teases Robin. I always loved, as a kid, I loved Robin, and I loved this show's depiction of Robin because he was kind of an adult. And I know, of course, they use the Tim Drake costume, so I'm like, yeah, this is great. But there are a couple of episodes where they're like, I think Robin is going to be in this one, and then he's not. And you're like, hey, you tricked me into thinking this is going to be a Batman and Robin episode, and it's not. But the moment that really gets me, and the reason why it's in my top 10 is because of is when Jim wakes up, and he says, like, I thought, I wish I could have been younger, like, would have been more like you, like a hero. And he says, you are a hero, Jim.
Oh,
I'm like,
so good.
By the way, God. Also, the voice actor, I have to toss this out there. Was it Robert Hastings played Jim Gordon, and there will never be another Jim Gordon that sounds.
He was wonderful.
As him. He's so great. He's like a Death of a Salesman, like Willie Loman depiction, the Brian Dennehy version, not the Dustin Hoffman one, but so good. But yeah, Hastings, man, I wish he could have been in more, and the world is poorer having lost him.
Yeah,
so, yeah,
definitely.
I Am the Knight, so good. He even, there's a great moment where he's like, I was the knight, I became the knight, and he does this fucking Shakespearean thing, and I'm like,
oh yeah,
hey, Batman, you might want to tone it down a little bit. Just so great.
It's a hell of a soliloquy. I'm like, I'll remember that for my high school drama cast.
Yeah.
I remember to pull that one out if I need a monologue.
It's not his "I am vengeance, I am the night" moment, and by
it's
the
just
way,
free metal.
Great line, but from like a hilarious episode where he's like clutching for dear life.
Yeah.
I am the knight. Oh, but I have to be really careful not to fall off this blimp.
I always thought that was funny too. Everyone loves playing that clip, but they always play the clip out of context.
Yeah, they're not showing him just desperately clutching for life off of a Zeppelin while a skeleton version of his father's talking to him.
Yeah. Little nuts, huh?
Yeah. So, yeah, there you go. So anyway, I Am the Knight is one of my favorites.
It's a stellar one. Now, I have a two-parter here, too, and fitting it's the first two-parter the show ever did, and that's Two-Face Part 1 and Part 2.
So great. That's in my honorable mentions. I couldn't fit it in the rest of them, so I put Two-Face in the honorable mentions.
It's rough, because they did so many amazing supervillain origins. You could literally have picked just about anyone. You could have picked Mad as a Hatter. You could have picked all of these ones. I liked this one because I think it really hits home the importance of the relationship of Harvey Dent and Bruce Wayne. Heck, we even saw Harvey Dent in an episode previous to this.
That was the other thing about that show, is that they introduced Harvey Dent like early on, so that you are like, wait a minute, he's not Two-Face. What's happening? Like establishing continuity, but also really building up their relationship. I think the first Poison Ivy episode features Harvey Dent prominently.
It is, because what is it? Poison Ivy's trying to kill him, and they make a joke about that in Almost Got Im, where it's like, oh yeah, we used to date.
Yeah, and as I know, I think I caught that episode later in life. Like I missed it when it came, because I was watching them when they came out, and man, I was like, what is happening? They used to date? I thought it was a throwaway line, but no, it's actually in the thing.
It is.
Yeah.
This episode is stellar to me because it hits home the idea that they would play with a lot in the future of the show, and that is Batman's villains are crazy. Like, they are literally sick in the head. They are clinically insane. And there's something horrifying about that. And this one really like goes deep. Like, this is the first time in a cartoon I ever saw a dude going to a therapy session and really trying to seek help for his split personality disorder.
And by the way, I gotta say, Two-Face. One of the part of the reason why it didn't end up on my top 10 list is because Part 1 is animated perfectly.
Yeah.
And Part 2 isn't.
Yeah.
And it's one of the D Squad animators, and it's like the episode is is great and beautiful and awesome, and I love the two-parter, and I'll watch both of them. But there's something missing when the first part is so good and the second part is just not.
Like, again, we were talking about the great casting of Jim Gordon there. Great casting of Two-Face, Richard frickin' Mull from Night Court.
Mull from Night Court. Who'd have thought that? And man, does he do a good job. I remember in an old Wizard magazine, they had a publicity photo of the cast. It was Batman and his villains against like a tree, just them outside. And I'm looking at this, and it's like it's Poison Ivy and Bullock, Poison Ivy and Two-Face and Joker and Batman. I think that's kind of it. But I'm like, is that Bull from Night Court? What is he doing in this picture? Is that Luke freaking Skywalker?
Yep.
Just so great.
Like when he does the turnover from like, oh, I'm Harvey Dent and I'm here to help and I'm running for district attorney and all this other stuff. And then, he does the turnover.
Oh, my God. You're talking to the wrong Harvey.
Wrong guy.
By the way, also great parallel with Batman because Batman has like a, hey, Lucius, what's up? And then his Batman voice is something else.
Drops a couple octaves. I really love that, to them really hit that home. Also, this was an episode that did a great job highlighting the traditional organized crime of Gotham because while it's Two-Face's story and he becomes the villain by the end, the main antagonist is Rupert Thorne, one of their other great creations.
Yeah, great character and a prominent villain throughout the series. He's always there when you need like a mobster that doesn't have a silly or ludicrous angle or gimmick. And you could tell, like, Thorne is just like, I'm just, if Batman wants to punch dudes dressed in cosplay, I'm going to try and take an opportunity on the side, like, it's great. Just so great.
Did they ever make Rupert Thorne canon in the comics, or am I just missing?
I think they did. I want to say that Rupert Thorne is in the comics, but he didn't do anything that made a splash. Like,
He's due to come back. I remember in Eternal when they brought back Carmine Falcone and made him canon again. Everyone in his... Yeah, which is like, he should be, but it was a whole thing. And like everyone in his gang had like rose tattoos.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, really, that should be a Rupert Thorne thing is what it should be, because he had a whole rose motif going on.
Yeah, no, his name is Thorne. It's based off of Rose. Yeah, no, he had a whole...
His ship was called the Rose's Thorne.
Yeah, he had a gimmick too, but it was based off his name. But yes.
It was a subtle gimmick. It's like what any Tony Montana Godfather dude would do.
Yeah, no, yeah. Because otherwise the theme would be I'm fat, and Kingpin's already got that covered.
He's got that covered. Two-Face is also a heartbreaking love story, too, between him and Grace, and they have this very, Frankenstein, Elephant Man, I'm not a monster. And when he takes her to the casino, which is very fitting that they gave... Two-Face, they really hit home the games of chance thing going on there. When he's got like the John Merrick sheet over one half of his face, it's like, this is my world now, a place of duality and chance.
And she's like, what? Like, she has no patience for it. It's kind of amazing. I like when characters get like all melodramatic and then other characters just take the piss out of them, going like, what?
Yeah, I was working on this. And then, when Batman beats him at the end, and again, real downer ending, and we see Batman flip the coin into the fountain
well or whatever, and
into the wishing well.
It comes up scarred.
Oh, such a great moment, and like that speech he has there, where it's like, what are you dreaming tonight, Harvey? What is it, gentle dreams or nightmares, or both at the same time?
I like when he's trying to find the coin, he's just screaming.
Oh, it's
so
great.
In another direction of crazy, one of my top favorite episodes of the Batman the Animated Series, which people are going to be annoyed about, is The Clock King. And here's why. I don't like Mayor Hill. When I was a kid, as a kid, I didn't like Mayor Hill. As a kid, I didn't like watching Batman episodes that didn't feature a colorful villain that I really liked.
Same.
And I didn't like episodes without any Robin in it. And this is all of those things.
It is.
And it taught me that, because every time it came on, I'm like, well, it beats going outside and playing with like people and doing things, so I guess I'll watch it. But let me tell you something. The Clock King is so brilliantly acted. by that dude who plays the Clock King.
Yeah, and kept coming back. Even in Justice League, he kept coming back.
He's so good. The dude, like, I loved the character. I loved and the second one is really cool, but it's not nearly as powerful because that's the one where like he has that technology that makes
he actually gets time powers
and makes a little like Superman reference because Robin says, "Ha, faster than a speeding bullet." And I'm like, wait a minute, Superman, maybe? And then I forgot about it. But like the first episode of Clock King, when you just watch Fugit go through his day, and people like this guy, and he's not like a villain. He's just wound super tight, too tight, like a clock. But his misplaced aggression and his misunderstanding and his like just how that misplaced aggression and his obsessions being forced into another avenue, so great. And
it also fits beautifully into that famous Batman killing joke. It only takes one bad day.
Yeah, I honestly, like, it teaches you a lesson about like stories that you didn't necessarily think you were going to enjoy, or stories that you don't think you want, and then being like, no, we're going to challenge your conventions. There's a couple of episodes on this list that are legitimate, like, that me from 1992 would be like, how is that your favorite episode? That is so boring.
Same.
But no.
Also, we got to mention, too, his name is Temple Fugit as a reference to, what is it, the old, Latin thing? Mm-hmm. That's clever. I first figured that out watching that episode.
Oh, nice. So, yeah, Clock King. Who'd have thought that? Anyway.
Yeah, who woulda?
What do you got?
Okay, what else do I got here? Well, keeping up with the theme of just, like, shredding endings and, like, actually talking maturely about insanity and mental illness, Baby Doll.
Baby Doll's in my, actually, it's in my bonus. It's in my honorable mentions.
It doesn't become excellent until the very end, because it starts off as just, like, a fun little romp about television and how many in-jokes we can get in here.
Yeah. And then La Placa fucking just swings for the fences in that, like, performance of the character, which is like, that's me, isn't it? Oh no. And that was in the new Batman and, like, Robin Adventures, which, by the way, as a kid, I'm like, they changed the intro. I don't like this. That's more of a pure Shirley Walker theme, because Shirley Walker had to do, like, an adaptation of the Tim Burton theme for the original theme. And then she's like, here's my theme. And it's so good when you listen to it all separate from the show. And then she, of course, gets to make it even better when she gets to score the Phantasm. But yeah, Baby Doll's a good episode. It's just a solid and excellently animated as well. It's not the guys from like Heart of Ice or Feet of Clay, but it's still it's like the Phantasm people animation. And it's just so good.
It's also just like, wonderfully weird comic book Batman where it's like, hey, here's this failed child TV star who went nuts, kidnapped her co-stars, and now Batman's chasing her through a carnival while she shoots at him.
Most recently, I was reading that Super Sons episode with Kid Amazo, and I'm like, this is very Baby Doll.
Yeah, it had a lot of the same, a lot of the same hallmarks. And in the end, too, Batman didn't even really need to throw a punch. That's one of the few instances where, like, the villain defeated themselves, basically, or they just burned out.
No, Batman just holds her.
Yeah.
That is an episode that made me believe that there was hope for the rest of the series. And then season 4 came out, and I lost it.
Yeah, there's still some fun ones in there, but there's no oh man, that was a masterpiece.
None of them are on my list. Sorry, Over the Edge fans.
Oh, I have Over the Edge on mine.
But yeah, so another one of my episodes that I really, really love that's in my list is The Man Who Killed Batman.
Sid the Squid.
Sid the Squid. Oh, God.
Another Batman episode without Batman, because that's how good the characters and the writing are on that show. Yeah,
Matt Frewer playing Sid the Squid, a voice that I knew inside and out every time he did anything. I'm like, oh, it's the Pink Panther, or Max Headroom, but he's so good, and he is all over that decade.
He sure is.
By the way, like, he's in an amazing episode of TNG. And of course he's so good. But anyway, The Man Who Killed Batman is so great for a variety of reasons. One, it proves to you that even though Batman's not in the episode, it's still fantastic because he's barely in it. And two, we meet this new character and then never see him again.
It's true. They did him so perfectly once. Let's never see him again.
And it also has the Joker monologue.
Yes, which is amazing. Like the funeral for Batman as given by the Joker.
It's great, and it's funny because I think people have really like overanalyzed that episode or in that moment, because Joker's like, and it still works, but it's also like, we'll get into it, because here's what I like. So Joker's like, you killed Batman. That's fucked up because I'm supposed to kill Batman. When Joker plans the heist. And then Harley comes in. Look at all the pretties. Put them back, Harley.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's so great. Then they have the funeral. He's like, he's really not coming. Has the funeral for him, and it's just, he's like, oh, I'll be smiling again once we put that man there. And
that box
him in
there.
that box there, and roll into that vat of acid there. And then he seemingly kills Sid the Squid and basically gets revenge for having killed Batman. That amazing joke where he puts the kick me sign on the cape and cowl.
Oh yeah, and he does and they do the kazoo bit.
They do the kazoo of Amazing Grace.
So funny.
When he goes, but the moment that I really find interesting is when it's all over and Joker sheds a single tear for Batman, and then he goes, "Well, that was fun. Who's for Chinese?" Seriously, every time there's a dour moment in my life, I immediately like get back into good spirits by being like, well, that was fun. Who's for Chinese?
Me too.
It's completely invaded my life. And
it's so good.
But I like it also because, like, for Joker, it's like, well, it's over. Like,
Yeah.
we've done it. Batman's dead. I got my revenge. It's over. I kind of wanted to see, like, and they couldn't do it because it doesn't fit in the episode, but, like, it would have been nice to see the exploration of that a little bit better, where it's like, Joker, what happens to Joker with no Batman? Batman's done. I got, like, you know, his death was stolen from me, but I got my revenge and killed the idiot who killed him.
Yeah.
Probably slipped on the slime trail this parasite left behind.
My theory for that is Joker would go have his Chinese, then go to the bathroom and blow his own brains out after
like
that.
Joker either kill himself or be like, well, I guess I'll just have to figure out what being a regular person is. Like,
yeah.
But I digress.
Maybe go to Star City and start fucking with Green Arrow.
Yeah. Well, I got another Batman. Hey, Green Batman, let's do this.
Stop calling me Green Batman. I have my own stuff going on.
No.
Damn. I'm better than the majority of your villains.
I killed all your villains.
That was easy.
Yeah. There were only two of them.
No, I swear there is more. Clock King is technically mine. He premiered in my book, so he's mine.
So, yeah, but anyway, there you go. The Man Who Killed Batman. Great episode. We got a lot of great, like, oh my god, that's another Rupert Thorne episode.
Yes, Rupert Thorne featuring quite prominently in that episode as well.
Yeah. No one is that lucky or stupid.
Yeah, you must be trying to make a play for my empire.
Exactly.
No, really, I promise. I'm that lucky and that stupid.
Yeah. The guy
I'm
almost
all
off the bat. Finally, a big shot at last. Aw. Great.
Love that.
So good.
Another two-parter we have to talk about, The Demon's Quest.
Demon's Quest, yes. Let me see.
The closest they got to like an actual big full movie. I mean, well, every episode was a movie, but that one could easily have been a movie.
Oh, easily. No, Demon's Quest is in my my honorable mention.
It's Batman Goes James Bond.
Yes! This is the show that introduced me to Ra's al Ghul. I read the Neil Adams books, but I was like, okay, that's cool. He very rarely played into any of the comics that I read that were coming out at that time that were Batman featured. So, like, I had to either go back in time to read any Ra's al Ghul's, and even then, the only Ra's al Ghul books I ever read were, like, his first appearance.
You could argue this episode helped raise the fuck out of his profile and why Ra's al Ghul is always on those lists of, like, the top 10 greatest Batman foes.
I think that the show single-handedly raised awareness of Ra's al Ghul. I think Neil Adams would argue with you, but I think
of course he would.
I think the show is mostly to thank for Ra's al Ghul's prominence in any way.
And that episode is a love letter to Neil Adams' art. They recreate so many famous panels and scenes from his work, right down to the shirtless sword fight.
We got the shirtless sword fight. I was like, wow! I thought there was going to be a Scorpion moment in there, but no. But that was fine. It worked out so great. Also, shit. So David Warner plays Ra's, and Helen Slater plays Talia, and she's
also excellently
so good. Remember that episode with like that throwaway villain that like causes vertigo,
Oh, Count Vertigo, who is also a Green Arrow villain.
Yeah, Count Vertigo totally sucks, and
damn it, Batman, you took 2 of Green Arrow.
The whole reason to do the episode is just to tease Ra's al Ghul. Oh.
Yep.
But yeah, no, the Demon's Quest, great 2-parter, also has Robin in it, but one of those teasers that's like, Robin's kind of not really in it. He's like a hostage.
Yeah, yeah.
Also, is that the episode where he counts to 3 with Ubu, where he's like, and that's 3.
Yeah, exactly, right there. That's strike 1. That's strike 2. No one walks before the master.
Yeah. Okay, that's 1. Mod King Mopey says, I just remembered Growing Pains was a thing. Ugh,
that's another really good one.
That is a good one.
I wonder, do I mix up Growing Pains with Old Wounds?
I think you do.
Right, because they both tackled the same subject matter. They were all very like Bat Family centric episodes.
Yes, they were. Yeah, Growing Pains is the one with Clayface.
Right, and like Tim makes a friend only to find out. Yeah, okay.
That's a really solid episode. Again, not in my list, but still.
Also a creative way to use Clayface.
Yes, creative way to do something new with Clayface.
Someone in the chat just mentioned Bane. Bane's like my favorite Batman villain, one of my favorite comic villains, and even I couldn't put his episode in the list. It's good.
It is good.
But it's not top 10 good.
I did not put Bane in my list as well. But I will say, number 1, that was the episode where I'm like, is Bane like Spanish?
Yes. Yeah,
I had no concept of it until I had to, because my introduction to Bane was Nightfall, not Vengeance of Bane or whatever.
Right,
so
right.
I was like, oh, okay, cool. Well, all right, here we go. Also, way to screw up. Everyone wants to screw up the Bane design.
Yeah.
Like, the mask looks cool because you don't see his face. Got a cool logo over his face and red eyes.
Yep.
No, let's cut it out so we see his nose.
Yeah.
And his mouth.
He's supposed to be a luchador, guys. That's what you're going for.
It's cooler in the comic. Despite the fact that his outfit is like a bondage person's costume.
Oh, well, later it will be a bondage person costume. In the first appearance, it's more like 1920s wrestler.
It's very similar to the comic book version.
Yeah.
Also, I remember being like, when in that episode of Bane when he's gonna do the breaking of the bat scene, and then Batman just pops his fucking venom, and I'm like, yeah, man, he should have done that.
That's Bane in a nutshell. I love him, but he always gets defeated the same way.
Yeah. Yeah, well, don't have big loose tubes that are connected to your brain, jackass.
Yeah, maybe don't do that. Actually, it's funny, the Bane episode, too, they kill off Rupert Thorne's secretary in that one.
Yeah, they do. Candace dies in that episode. Or at least that's the implication.
We never see her again, so yeah, she was dead. She was 2-time in Thorne with Bane, and once Bane got defeated, well, time to kill you. And Batman doesn't stop it, which is funny. Batman knows it's gonna happen and does
Bane
nothing.
Sets her up. He says, like, I got a track for you to listen to. I call it Better Luck Next Time.
Yeah,
and he plays their conversation. And Rupert Thorne's reaction is basically to be like a jilted lover, like, ooh, Candace, but like, no, he murders her.
He murders the shit out of her. Actually, that episode's great too, because she gets into a fight with Robin when Bane and Batman are fighting, and she does the most adorable thing. She takes her high heels off, then jumps into fight.
That's a great element. I like that.
That's like, okay, gotta take out my hoop earrings, gotta take off my shoes.
Yeah. All right, hang on a minute, I'll be right there.
Clearly, someone in the animators room is like, "Have you ever seen women fight before? Legit?"
Yeah. So yeah, there you go. Where were we? What was that one?
That was the Demon's Quest for me.
Demon's Quest. Okay. For me, I gotta say, if I didn't mention the Riddler, I would be remiss. So while I'm not going to say his first appearance, although I did like it.
If you're so smart, why aren't you rich?
Yeah, if you're so smart, why aren't you rich? Which is a great episode. I'm going to say one of my favorites is Riddler's Reform.
Oh, that's a solid one.
Where Riddler goes to work for Wacko Toys. And there are great little moments in that. I love I love John Glover playing Riddler in that one. He's so good.
He's really good.
He's so good. He could play Riddler anytime, although now he's very old. But when he played that awful scientist in Batman and Robin, I'm like, oh, no, you should just, oh, right, they did that awful mask Riddler. No. But so great. There's that great acting moment where he's doing his, for some reason, by the way, in the Batman universe, they shoot commercials live.
Yeah.
But in any case, there's that great moment where Riddler's doing a commercial and the kid's like trying to figure it out, and they're children, so he's like smashing this puzzle box, and Riddler just goes, "Don't like that, you'll break it." Like just so angry and miserable, and doesn't like working with kids at all.
Oh yeah.
I like Batman being a detective in that one, where he's just like, he writes down the address, and then they go to the address, and it's like a bank, and then he remembers that like he flipped the chalkboard over, which makes it something else. And, that's
wonderfully mind-bendy.
And of course, at the end, when Batman jumps in the safe and Riddler doesn't count on that, and he says, "How did he do it? How did he do it? I have to know."
Again, one of the best final shots involving Arkham. I loved Arkham was a character. How many times did we see villains there just freaking out?
Yep. Oh, this is so good. Riddler planning on like killing the Riddler persona, but now that he's killed Batman, him being like, "They're right, I can't stop. Like, Batman's right, I can't stop.
I'm sick.
I am sick, and I fooled the doctors and the parole board, and just so good. The Riddler is. I have never seen a better depiction of the Riddler than in this show.
Really, really solid. They got a handle on it. You know, in the same vein as like Riddler's Reform, I had also considered for my honorable mentions Birds of a Feather, which was kind of like Penguin's Reform.
Oh yeah, that's a really good one where he falls in love with the Vreeland chick.
It's probably my favorite Penguin episode, and it's probably one of the best episodes with Vreeland in it.
Yes, easily.
She was another like kind of newish character, and I always liked the idea that they messed around with, where it's like, look, if Batman never became Batman, he probably would have just married Veronica Vreeland.
Yeah, I like that in Batman Beyond's pilot, it's like the granddaughter of Vreeland that he's trying to save. It's nice little bit of continuity there, gang.
Our lives will be forever intertwined for whatever reason. But, that one's great too, because that we actually get to see like high society in Gotham through the eyes of Bruce Wayne, and it's kind of like a critique of that of the ultra rich and, you know, the ultra bored, and I'm like, yeah, it's nice to see them doing this.
Yeah, I agree. That's a good episode anyway. But yeah,
House and Garden is another one in kind of the Reform thing, and that one's a good mystery one too.
Yeah, I agree. But I couldn't not mention the Riddler in some way, so I just had to pick my favorite Riddler episode.
Solid.
Yeah.
What's another one I got here? I mean, well, you kind of already mentioned how you weren't going to put it on your list, but Over the Edge, I'm quite a fan.
Let me tell you something. That's probably the best episode of that season, not including that great episode with Clayface that we mentioned earlier.
It's solid. I'm a big fan of this in comics, so of course I'd be a big fan of it in comic book shows. I like the idea where the writers get together and be like, all right, if we were to write a last one ever, if we were given, you know, a blank check to put the final word on it, what would it be like? How would the House of Cards come tumbling down? As a thought exercise. Yeah. And that's what this is, and I think it's wonderful.
Yeah. I really find that episode very watchable. I think it's fun and cool, and it's a great exploration of a what-if story, basically. I like seeing Gordon versus Batman. I like Gordon immediately finding out. I don't like the idea that Gordon just doesn't know already. Gordon's like, all right, Bruce, the jig is up.
That's always what I assume, too, that Gordon could know if he wanted to, or he already knows and doesn't care.
That's the thing. I like that he already knows, but Gordon says, like, 1 minute on my daughter's computer, like, told me who you were. And I was like, you needed to look.
Come on. Well, but then at the end of the episode, too, they imply that he already knew that she was Batgirl, so...
Yeah.
They have their cake and eat it, too.
Yeah, it's interesting. It does, however, give us the cool design of Scarecrow.
I can't believe that design was only in a handful of episodes. It's so fucking metal.
It is totally metal. Also, new
Southern
voice for
preacher, new Scarecrow.
Yeah. I do like... I liked all the voices of Scarecrow. But that one was pretty cool, too.
I mean, Combs, come on.
Yeah.
It's the fucking Reanimator. Who doesn't love the That's also the episode that has Bondage Bane. Like, that's Gordon's ace in the hole.
Design.
See, I kind of like it for its creep factor. Like, this is what Nightmare Bane would look like. Then, of course, when we see Bane later on, it's what he's wearing anyway, and all the subsequent ones.
Weird.
I mean, come on, with his cracked up, fucked up teeth and his, like, gimp mask mouth and everything.
Yeah, it's very weird. It's a weird choice. But,
and then they fight, like, on the bat signal and everything.
That was cool, too. Yeah, I like that. Let's see.
I mean, we actually get to see a coffin being carried in an animated series. That's some craziness.
Oh, well, how about when Batgirl just lands on her father's car windshield?
cracking. And they say too in the commentary, it's like, they said we had to shoot it in a different way. We had to shoot it from the inside.
That's
and
more
we did.
Horrifying.
Yeah, and it's even worse. Thanks, standards and practices.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like that's beauty from adversity. So where are you in your list? How many more do you have left?
I have about 2 more.
I also have 2 more. So
I think we'll probably have 2 of the same. I do believe.
We'll see. Should we talk about the one that we both have, or is that your number 1?
You go ahead. My number 1's like the dark horse.
Okay. Because I have a different one as well. So we'll talk about Heart of Ice, which is so great.
The one they won the award for, and very deserved.
Let me tell you something. Again, never a better Mr. Freeze than in this show. Heart of Ice is the episode that showed people that not only can comic books inspire like beauty and greatness, but also it can like transcend the material and give you something new. Holy shit, is this episode good.
Again, the dialogue just firing on all cylinders there. Like, what's that bit he says when he has Batman captured, where it's like, never to walk on a beach again with a warm breeze in my face and a hand in mine. Oh, yes, I'd kill for that.
Yes, exactly. Oh, God. Michael Ansara, who only died not too long ago, but, like, he was, like, a monster actor, as I recall. Yeah. So, like, just so good. The voice acting is brilliant. The animation is perfect. It's a perfect episode.
It really is.
And also, by the way, like, it gives you the old, like, 50s version of Mr. Freeze's costume without the red, and you're like, holy shit. Like,
the score is amazing, too, in that one.
That's the thing, is that the show itself is a perfect storm of excellence across the board. You had animators that gave a shit, who are performing a brilliant feats of amazingness. You've got Shirley Walker and her amazing ability to capture a character in musical form and then give you just stuff you don't even pay attention to, and then when you actually are like brought your ear to it, you're like, oh shit, this is actually really, really good and powerful.
It was so good they kept going back to the Mr. Freeze. Well, I don't think they ever topped that episode though.
It's hard. Yeah. I'm trying to remember if there was anything better than Heart of Ice. I don't think so.
They gave him his own movie.
The movie is not as good as the first episode.
No, it's not. Where I'm like, no, it's not as good as the episode, though. You did it better in 22. Heck, I enjoy the weird, like, Bioshock before Bioshock, where they go to a Walt Disney stand-in's underwater city where he wants to live forever, so he's kidnapped Mr. Freeze from jail.
Yeah.
That was a fun one. And then to be like, hey, your wife you thought was lost? Well, guess what? I got her right here.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, man.
That one's funny, too, because Mark Hamill is in that episode as the evil industrialist.
Apparently what happened was Mark Hamill asked to play a villain. He's like, I want to play a villain, just anybody. So you'll actually hear Mark Hamill's voice a little bit throughout the first season before you get to the Joker, and it's because they were like, okay, Mark, you can play this, and you can play that, and you can play this. And then it's like, and then Tim Curry had to drop out, and they were like, oh, I guess you can just play the Joker then.
The chat reminds me, too, that he was also in an episode of Batman Beyond. You're right, Danielle. That was actually a pretty solid episode.
It was okay, yeah. I watched that recently, and I was like, all right. Believe
nice
me,
little
you're the only one who cares.
Heart of Ice is so good, they co-opted it almost instantly for the comics and then for the movie with Schwarzenegger to give Mr. Freeze this tragic backstory.
It was so wasted on him. Like, so wasted on that movie, though. It doesn't matter. Even if Patrick Stewart had played Mr. Freeze, it still wouldn't have been good. So we have the show, and it's perfect. And that's the other element, of course, is the voice cast, which is just unbelievable. We didn't even mention like Lauren Lester's ability to play Robin and how great he was.
Oh yeah.
But overall just so great. But Heart of Ice is one of the best episodes of like animated television, much less one of the best episodes.
Just a winner from start to finish.
Easily. Let's see. Do you have honorable mentions still?
Yeah, a whole bunch of it. I still have 2 more left. I still have my 1 and 2 because I went first, which means I actually had 3 when I said I had 2.
Well, do it. Let's do it.
I mean, my number 2 pick, and this was my number 2 pick right from the beginning. Mad Love.
Mad Love, right? It was. Here's the thing. It's not on my list at all.
Really?
It's because I remember them being like, we're never going to be able to do it. So they did the comic book. And as a result, the comic book existed before the show.
It did.
And it's really good. and it really like humanizes Harley, and it explores the backstory.
It's the best origin. It's the definitive origin for the character they created and put to animation.
Yeah, anything that they're trying to do with Harley that isn't Mad Love is a waste of time.
It's also the most evil I remember the Joker being, where it's like when he backhands her in that episode. I remember watching that Saturday morning and like I spit the cereal out of my mouth. I'm like, can they do that? That's horrifying.
Yes, and it's funny how much of the comic they just went, we're just going to do that in the episode itself. I wish it hadn't been in season 4's animation.
Yeah.
Like for that, I'm like, ugh. Then I feel like there are a couple things that I was like, it's just I like it, but I don't think it's as nuanced as the rest of the show. There are great performances in that episode, and it's also just solid. Joker gets to have a lot more fun. This place has gone to blinking blue blazes. Has anyone seen my socks? Or when he says like, yeah, Batman, eh? Yeah, well, all right, well, bye.
Or when he's looking through
tied up where?
Or when he's looking through his plans and he's like, been done, not funny, to Riddler.
To Riddler. Yeah, that's pretty good. But yeah, I feel like we're getting towards the end of the show at that point. Like when Mad Love comes out, I'm like, shouldn't have waited.
That was another episode where it's like, this could have been your last episode.
Yeah, that would have been fine because it was, it kills the Joker.
Quote unquote.
Yeah, it's all right.
Which, hey, we wouldn't see him again until until friggin' Batman Beyond, right?
I think so, right? Or
did they do the team up with Superman?
The World's Finest, I don't remember what episode that is.
I can't remember that one. It's a Superman episode, not a Batman episode.
Yeah. It's also like overtly sexual in that one, like where it's like, yeah, no, Joker and Harley are banging. I do like the idea of Joker being like, no, I don't care about that.
I'm a weird asexual clown man.
Yeah, exactly.
With more important things on my mind, like elaborate clown-themed death traps.
For one person.
Yes, just for one.
Yeah, I hear you. I respect it. It's not on my list, but I do enjoy it. So
again, it's the tragedy of that one that nails me, and I feel it's the tragedy that they have purposefully cut from the Harley Quinn character as to make her more marketable, and indeed she's the fourth pillar of the DC universe, so what the fuck do I know?
Right, exactly. And for one of my episodes that I always like and I always go back to, it's one of my favorites, is His Silicon Soul.
Ooh,
the sequel
robots.
to the Hardak episode two-parter.
Get some robots up in there.
Holy shit, His Silicon Soul is so good. First of all, excellent animation. Secondly, you get a lot of really, really sweet, awesome allusions in this. You get Blade Runner, you get Terminator, and you get esoteric, introspective, am I human or am I not, what makes it possible.
Rossum, the creator of robots.
That's right, who is literally just the same character and the same actor from Blade Runner put in there. I think Batmite's in that one.
We also see that same guy again in the Mr. Freeze sequel with the Walt Disney guy because we find out Rossum was an Imagineer.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice little tying that back together. Like, hey, let's have fucking Rossum come back.
Right? But His Silicon Soul, if you're not familiar, Hardak, the supercomputer that was supposed to be replacing people with duplicants, duplicants, not replicants.
Mm-hmm. It's legally different.
Yeah, that whole two-parter, by the way, is awesome, and like, holy shit, like what a ballsy move. A two-parter about replacing humans with robots.
Yeah.
But the sequel to that, where there was one duplicant they didn't destroy, and it was the Batman duplicant that was also Bruce Wayne, because Hardak knew, and that Batman like roaming the world and trying to like figure out who he is, and then facing off against Batman, and then Batman and he going to a battle of the death, and then thinking he killed Batman, and because he is so Batman, he's like, oh no, I've taken a life, and he kills himself.
Yeah.
It's perfectly distilled by the last line of the episode with Batman and Alfred talking, and he says, do you think it had a soul, Alfred? I just love that moment. I love that episode. It's wonderful. So great. Holy shit.
It's also like, hey, weighty science fiction themes in Batman, which mostly stuck to neo-noir and superheroics, but it's like, hey, we can do other genres too.
Exactly. It's these episodes that make me go like, this show it's like we'll never come again.
It's so true, which, that dovetails quite perfectly into the one I have for my number one. It's a dark horse one. I think people have heard me talk about this before when I say it's my favorite. A Bullet for Bullock.
Yeah, I like A Bullet for Bullock, but I couldn't put it on my list. I don't blame you, though.
It's the perfect cop drama. It has an amazing jazz score, which sounded like nothing from any episode. It was all its own.
Yeah, you know that episode. That great score got it an Emmy for that.
And it deserved it. It's amazing. It's a wonderful focus piece on Bullock, who I've said is my favorite Gotham cop, maybe one of my favorite cops in fiction.
Yeah. Oh, Bullock is great.
Mm-hmm.
What a great character with a lot of pathos and depth. He's at the core of his being, he's a good cop, but he's one of the harsh ones.
He really is. It's a beautiful thing to team him up with Batman and be like, look, I don't like you, but I need your help. And it's an examination of how both of them choose to fight crime in their city and how neither one is truly right or wrong.
Agreed. Yeah.
It also has a great bit for Renee Montoya where they try and stop a bunch of bank robbers who killed a teller Christmas Day. It's also a weird holiday episode too.
Uh-huh.
Because it's like one of those cop movies that just happens to take place at Christmas time.
Yeah.
That's cool. It also has maybe the greatest twist they ever did, because they say, it's hard to write a mystery in 22 minutes for television. It's never the obvious red herring guy. It's always the only other person who was in the episode.
Right.
I think they get around that in an amazing way in this one. And it's also, I think it's an episode that speaks volumes to the corrupting nature of Gotham City and how, it's very easy to go mad there.
Yeah. That's excellent. That's a great one. And I don't blame it. I don't blame you for being number one. Let's go into our honorable mentions, shall we?
So many.
Lightning fast through these. Appointment in Crime Alley is
excellent one
of the best episodes, and I just couldn't fit it on the list because I had to make a couple of concessions.
It hits home the importance of Leslie Tompkins.
I believe it's written by Jerry Conway.
Interesting.
Which is kind of awesome.
That's metal.
But that's the one that I was thinking of with Roland Daggett, where at the end, Daggett blows up a tenement building, and then he gets away with it, and Batman is powerless to stop him because he's got the law on his side. He just rolls his window down in front of Batman and then leaves. It's also a great Leslie Tompkins episode. Overall, and Batman's trying desperately to just keep his appointment. It's so good.
Very much so.
I think it's a perfect episode.
It's really good. Scarface. I don't think they ever did Scarface better. Again, that was a wonderful neo-noir episode that introduced this admittedly pretty ridiculous villain, but made you believe it. And it was also an episode about mental illness, and they could kill the puppet in any sort of horrible, gory way they wanted because it was just a puppet. They did it 3 times.
Yeah, no, that was great. I remember being like, "Wow, they're doing Scarface!" When it came out, and that was a great one. For me, another one that I got to throw out there is Eternal Youth.
A fun Alfred-centric one.
It's a great Poison Ivy episode. It also has a lot of great horror in it. Turns people into plants. Alfred is in it, and he gets all messed up. Alfred's got a girlfriend in it, which is kind of fun.
That's nice. Also,
great acting from Ephraim Zimbalist Jr. But also, it's just a really fun Poison Ivy episode. And, she's just at that one. Alfred's already, Poison Ivy's done. Sometimes you kind of feel bad for Poison Ivy. Pammy's a tortured character that you almost sympathize with, but in this one, you can't. She's done. She's like, no,
I'm most evil.
I'm screwing over people and whatever. And
you can't stop me.
Yeah, that's a good one. And I had to throw it in because Poison Ivy is a great villain. It needs to be referenced. So yeah.
Here's a weird one. Day of the Samurai. I like it because it addresses Batman's training all over the world. It's like a sins of the past coming to fight him. It's an international Batman. We get to see him go to Japan and fight it out with the Yakuza and then have a big sword fight with a dude in front of a burning volcano.
As a kid, I was like, this is boring. As a teenager, I remember being like, samurais are right up my alley. This is totally tight, and it really works out. And it's another one of those teasing episodes where it's like, Robin might be in this one, and then he does something.
I felt the exact same way about that one as a kid. I'm like, oh, he's fighting a fucking ninja? Really? Yeah. No colorful supervillain? This is dumb. This is lame. But again, as you get older, wow, there's actually a lot under the hood in this episode.
Agreed. We get to see young Batman train, and we get to see Kyodai-ken being a real dick, and there's a lot of great stuff. Both those episodes are awesome.
It really, really is. Old Wounds, a Nightwing-centric episode, talking about how the family fell apart and how Batgirl came in and everything. Kyle Higgins would build on this one in an amazing way for his Batman Beyond comic run. There's just a lot of cool stuff happening in this episode.
Totally. I gotta toss this one out there. The Forgotten, the one where Batman gets amnesia and he gets sold into a chain gang and has to fight like a morbidly obese plantation owner.
Boss hog looking dude.
Alfred flies the bat plane. Batman re-explores his madness through a hotbox fever dream. And I can't prove this, but when he bumps into Joker in his fantasy, he doesn't recognize him because there's this moment where he's hallucinating, he's in a dream, and he looks at a mirror because he doesn't know who he is, and he looks in the mirror and he sees himself as Bruce Wayne, and Bruce Wayne's laughing in his face. And then he turns into the Joker, grabs him, and then pulls him through the mirror, and they both cascade down the like skyscrapers of Gotham. So great. But
great imagery.
I want to say, because I think that in the earlier time that they were doing it, Mark Hamill wasn't sure how to do the Joker. He was kind of approximating Tim Curry. There's a laugh that he does in that's so very quintessentially Tim Curry. I almost want to say that they just used it. That
you never do hear it anywhere else, yeah.
I want to say that is a Tim Curry take, and they just used it anyway.
I
don't have any proof to that, and I want to say that. And Mark Hamill is such a good voice actor; he could have just done it, but it's so great.
That episode's great too because it actually makes use of the Dust Bowl neo 1950s aesthetic of the Batman universe, where it's like, yeah, there'd be like a weird mining colony of like, you know, wayward workers that Batman could get himself press ganged into.
Yeah. By the way, Tremaine, yes, he did meet Zatanna. It's in an episode called Zatanna. It's an amazing episode, and I love it because the dude who's in everything, and I don't remember his name, but he plays the ghost that teaches Patrick Swayze how to use his powers in Ghost.
Oh, yeah, that guy.
He plays the voice of Zatara, and it's so good. But Batman has to help Zatanna. She doesn't have, like, true magic, but she does have, like, she's a magician. And that's a good one. But
they'll pay her off later in Justice League.
It's true, but the Forgotten's one is a favorite of mine because it's one of those. It's another one of those episodes where you're like, God damn it! It's another one where Joker's not in it or Riddler. This is boring, and then it's like, oh no!
I hated it as a kid, and they played that one all the fucking time.
It was that one and Batman in My Basement like every other day. I'm like, God damn it! Can we please get some Joker up in here?
I had the freaking talking storybook of Batman in My Basement, which made me hate that one even more because I'm like, I've been here, I've seen this.
Yeah.
I own the fucking book. Show me some new shit, please.
Yeah. Halmar reminds me of that moment from Zatanna where he says, like, I know that my daughter will miss you, John Smith. Yeah. Oh, and it hints that, like, Batman is trying to, like, become, like, he's learning from all the different walks of life. It ties into the ninja episode because it's like, here's another place where Batman went and learned and then left. But,
I like those. Robin's Reckoning, the two-parter, might be the best Robin origin story ever put to film.
Yeah. Stuff it, Batman, you and your stone cold heart. You don't know how I feel.
It's so perfect. Like, I watched that, like, two-parter, like, 44 minutes, and I'm like, how did this never become the backbone for a movie?
Yeah. Well, because Hollywood doesn't respect their the source material, and they're like, whatever, Robin, he doesn't sell. Like, Robin doesn't sell in Hollywood to the point where Chris Nolan and Christian Bale said, if there's a Robin, then if you make us use Robin, we're out.
Just the biggest jerk-off motion. Because you watch that, and I'm like, this is perfect. This should be the next reboot trilogy of movies. Start with Robin's Reckoning. Let's have a Batman who's pre-established, see a kid who's just coming into this crazy world for the first time.
Yeah.
See it through his eyes, have, like, the reflected pain of, like, I lost my family too. I'm saving you because, I see the good in you. I see the future that you could have. And also, if I don't, knowing how bad Gotham City is, if I don't save you now, Dick Grayson, I might be fighting you in a few years.
It's true. That's a good point.
You have in you the ability for great good or great evil, possibly.
Yeah. And your talent is too good. Like... and finally, for my honorable mentions, I'm going to mention the Beware the Gray Ghost.
That was my last one, too. Boom.
So excellent. First of all, terrific animators working on that one. Second of all, a legitimate homage to Adam West without being...
Love letter.
Without being pedantic or self-referential or frustrating.
No.
It's not like ham-fisted. It legitimately creates something different. It's literally... The Gray Ghost world that they created in the show is basically Batman's Batman the Animated Series.
Yes.
Like, it's a real thing, but it's like... it's not a joke. You know,
No, it's not.
The Gray Ghost took himself seriously, and the world took it seriously. But
and to see Batman be earnestly a fan of something is pretty amazing.
The work between Kevin Conroy and Adam West is great because Adam West also isn't playing a parody of himself.
Yeah.
He's playing himself as like, and in 1992, where it's like, I was something of a joke, and now I'm always gonna be that, and I can't get jobs because everyone thinks of me as Batman. Oh, that's when he's trying to get
so
money.
Sad.
He's trying to sell Grey Ghost merchandise.
You've paid the rent for the last time, old friend.
It's so good.
It's heart shredding, even more so because you know that was real, and it's even sadder now because obviously Adam West isn't with us anymore.
The episode, or the moment in the episode, of course, that like gets me now in my older, like as I'm older, is when he says, you know, I used to watch you with my father. The Grey Ghost was my hero. Like, yeah. Excellent.
Gets you.
Yeah.
The Grey Ghost so great they keep bringing him back every so often in the background of stuff.
Such that in the episode of Justice League Unlimited epilogue, Terry McGinnis is seeing the Grey Ghost movie in the future, and it's a crazy reboot.
A crazy reboot of the Grey Ghost. I'm sure the Grey Ghost rides again.
Yeah, so great. So yeah, there you have it, everybody. Our favorite episodes of Batman the Animated Series. I can't stress it enough. Everybody talks about like how great the show is, and like they tweet and retweet. This is a show that changes lives and it influences people in a really.
I am the man I am today. I have this job, due in no small part to Batman the Animated Series being a huge inspiration in my formative years.
It's a legitimate art form that, like, somebody reminded me that about the Batman Harley Quinn movie, and it's like, yeah, that's not even close to what it was. And like when I say like its kind will never come again, it really won't, because Justice League Unlimited is a great show.
It is
a great show. Superman the Animated Series, a great show, and we should do another one with Superman.
We should.
I was watching that episode I was watching the episode where they killed Dan Turpin, and that show is so good, but for totally different reasons. Batman the Animated Series does something, dares to be new, different, familiar, classic, and like revolutionary all at once, to the point where it has infiltrated every aspect of fandom in ways that you can't possibly even imagine.
It's true.
By the way,
and
also,
that it's still being referenced and homaged even itself.
Yeah, I wanted to do a quick shout out to our amazing collective of ComicPOP fans who have actually bolstered my Batman the Animated Series collection, although I will say,
I know,
my piece de resistance is this little number that was actually given to me by Tiffany, of all people.
Oh,
this is the animated series. This is for me, and I'll mention this because we didn't get a chance to, the best Batmobile.
It is without a doubt the best Batmobile. It's not too busy, but it's clear what it is.
Yes, it doesn't. It at no point has like a bat logo on it, or the bat or a bat in any way. I think
it's wonderfully retro yet also futuristic.
Yeah, that moment in the Mask of the Phantasm when he sees the car of the future, he's like, that's my car. I'm like, that's amazing. Great little moment.
It's good stuff. Even the car that he drives in the future in Batman Beyond is very reminiscent of the old Batmobile.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. There are some great Batmobiles. We should do a thing where we talk about Batmobiles, because like I have some favorites, but this is the best one.
Yeah, we could do like, just vehicles in general from all our favorite shit.
It's a good call. But there you have it, everybody.
You got the Mystery Machine. You got it all.
The DeLorean, the Ecto-1, all that stuff.
See, that's an episode. Freaking write that down. That's one.
Yeah. But I want to thank you all for hanging out with us. But before we go, I want to ask you a question. What is your favorite episode of Batman the Animated Series, and why? And don't give me Heart of Ice unless it impacted you personally, but like let's hear it. Let me hear your Batman in my basement episode, like your episode where you're like, make fun of me if you will, but this is something that matters to me, and here's why.
Yeah, this one struck a personal chord with me.
Exactly. Don't be afraid to mention season 4, even though I'm not a huge fan.
I like it.
Not
it's
everything
all Batman
needs to be. Not everything needs to be for me, and that's something that everybody should subscribe to.
But what about Mean Season, Sal? That was an interesting one about women in Hollywood and how rough it is to succeed and everything. That was also one. It also touched on mental illness. They fought like a Phantom of the Opera style, like former Hollywood starlet who was abused and used up by the industry, and so she was like striking back against all the power players in Hollywood.
Wow, yeah, I never saw it.
That was a Batman and Batgirl joint episode, and what was funny about that is it felt like the writers were almost taking the piss out of WB a little bit because they had like a big event going on at what was essentially like mid-season replacement week, and it's like, hey, here's all the new shows we got coming up. Model School, can they be models and go to school? Probably. And Skateboard Cop, he's like 14 and a cop. It's a thing.
Okay.
And also Skateboard Cop, because this was like when Dwayne McDuffie wasn't involved. I'm like, oh, is that Dwayne McDuffie talking about all the crappy roles for African Americans on television? You got to skateboard and you got to do all this other stuff.
You mean from the guy who created Rocket Racer or whatever?
Yeah, which again was his anger. It's like, then look, they made me do it too.
Yeah, all right. Fair
and I hate them all. There's a great letter out there of Dwayne McDuffie when he's like writing the network and being like, so I'm really pissed about this and this is why.
Right.
And it still holds up to this day. Whenever I see one of those roles or one of those characters, I'm like, oh, poor Dwayne McDuffie's rolling over in his grave right now.
Well, I want to thank you all for hanging out with us and watching us just gush about our favorite cartoon show of all time. And we'll see you guys next week with an all new episode. I'm Sal.
I'm Joel.
Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. So long.
Bye-bye.